Anybody just joining us at this pace on the recording, welcome. So yeah, Jonathan, delighted to have you with us as always. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Good to see you.
You too, you too. So been a busy year for you?
Yeah, very. Yes. I always like these events because it gives me a chance to reflect on what we've done, and then you suddenly realise, gosh, we've we've done a lot this year. Yeah. Uh,
It is difficult, isn't it? You sort of go from sort of one project to the next, and it's very easy to sort of lose track of just how sort of far forwards you've come sometimes. And not be funny, but Pro AT Group has had a busy year. So I mean, pro study, sort of, the cornerstone to sort of, setting up Pro AT Group in the first place. I presume that's continued to develop over the year.
yeah. So Pro Studies developed. We've got new features. We did a focus group at the start of the year with some students. Well, we did three focus groups, which helped us kind of outline our development like pipeline, and yeah, and then it's nice to look back and see what we did put in place throughout the year. So yeah, new features, generally trying to keep the same look for this year. And then we've really just focused on the referencing capabilities this year, which is it's a very hard thing for the developers to code in because there's so many kind of variations of how a reference may look. But yeah, we've got all that in now, so I'm really pleased with how all that's gone.
Awesome.
And then, of course, we launched Pro Revise as well at the start of the year. So,
Indeed. And how's that going so far?
yeah, brilliantly. We surpassed every kind of milestone and target we had. So, yeah, really pleased with Pro Revise. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I've got to ask the sort of the obvious sort of initial question around Pro Revise. What inspired you to create it?
It's always the same. So we have another company called Stat Northern where we work very closely with students. That was set up in 2008. So we'll be going into our 17th year next year. And it's very easy for us. We just listen to the students from that. And yeah, I think there's a slight, maybe, I don't know if AI has caused this, but a slight shift back towards how students are evaluated, and seems to be in a bit more of a push back towards exams slightly.
Hmm.
So students were wanting more solutions to revise, and we had a look in the market, and there was only really flashcards and a couple of others available. So we thought, well, let's think about this. Students need multiple ways to revise. So
Mhm.
so that's kind of where the idea started, and then obviously it's grown from there.
I mean, it is an interesting challenge revision. My oldest Hugo is doing his GCSE mocks at the moment, so he's been sort of go through the whole sort of process of revision and timetables, and um, I quite forgotten just how much stress and anxiety it is, even sort of the ones you think you're going into well, and then they either go well or they don't go well, and the questions that don't come up is, I think, anything that sort of helps to sort of transition students into exams has got to be an incredibly useful thing.
I think
It's
anything just gives a tool that just gives the student a starting block, so they
mm,
can just think, right, at least I can get on with it,
yeah,
rather than just sitting there panicking about it. So yeah, that's kind of the main goal of it all, really. I do think it's that joke where you come out the exam and you're talking to all your friends, and everyone's saying, was the answer 12 or 14? And you wrote train. It's something completely different. It can really set the panic going. So I just think being prepared and having the tool was the like I said, the key goal for it.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, it's always a challenging one. And you're right, it's an interesting sort of shift in the academic appraisals over the last sort of year or two, really. I think has sort of been sort of swinging back towards, or there's been a push to move back towards exams because of people using AI to create their coursework versus an exam which you are completely sort of shut off from the outside world, bar any sort of reasonable adjustments, to actually sort of regurgitate. So we're sort of sitting that swing away from exams for several years, and now swing back towards exams. Is that happening, as far as we can tell, sort of across the education space? Is it sort of schools, universities, colleges, apprenticeships? I presume it's happening everywhere.
I believe so. It's from, I've not seen any data, but it's just from conversations with people who work in institutions and
Yeah,
schools, colleges, universities that seems to be, or they're just looking at other ways to, test a student's knowledge.
yeah,
Doesn't really matter how they test it, you need to revise for it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an exam, but still, you still need to revise and get greater subject knowledge. Yeah.
absolutely. I'm sure this probably isn't necessarily a question for our audience today, but revision, is that just something you do in the sort of the 6-8 weeks before an exam, or is that something you need to be thinking of throughout the course?
Well, that was a huge kind of challenge when developing Pro Revise because we didn't want students to use it just to cram in the night before an exam. So we've really set it so it's to be used throughout the year. And then when your exam's coming up, then you can start using the revision methods a few
Yeah,
weeks before. But all the data should already be within the system.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that should be a constant throughout the year anyway. Whether as best practice with note taking or writing dissertations or anything else you're doing, is that sort of you know going back through your notes. Just because you've taken notes during a lecture doesn't mean that in 8 months' time you're going to understand what you wrote and why you wrote it. So that reviewing at the time, revision later is crucial to the whole process, isn't it?
So it's almost accidental revision, just adding in the information from your note into Pro Revise
Yeah,
is in itself relearning the information. So it's just a great tool for doing that.
yeah.
Um, the fact that then you've got these revision methods that come out the other side of that is just almost an added bonus, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned sort of flashcards, and I think that's probably one of the things that most people sort of immediately think of when they think of revision or sort of cover and repeat. I've got to ask, how many revision methods do you now have? Because I know it's increased since the last time I looked.
Yeah, there's 10. Well, no, there's 11 now. Sorry, 11. So yeah, flashcards, your traditional methods, and then we've gone to kind of other, mnemonics or read, recover, retell, or fill in the blanks, concentration. So there's kind of a level of, is it more of a game, a
Hmm.
20-minute burst of revision, or is it I want to sit down for a 2-hour revision session and really kind of hammer this home? So yeah, there's lots of different options for
Yeah,
whatever the student's feeling like that day.
awesome. So, how would you choose which type to use? I mean, is that just something that the students can be guided through, or is it something that's they know their preferences?
So there's an option. So you choose the exam, and then there's three steps. So you choose the exam. The third step is the revision method. But if you want, you can use a second step, which we call focus areas. And you can choose a focus area like memory retention or comprehension, active recall, and that will home down which revision method is best suited to you that
Okay,
day.
awesome, awesome. I think long, long time ago I was doing revision, but yeah, sort of knowing sort of which of the ones that suit me best and sort of work well is crucial to sort of managing that entire process. So yeah, sorry, I just noticed Emma Wilson just mentioned students with memory difficulties really benefit from regular chances to review and revise information since first hearing it through the exams assessments. Yeah, absolutely. I think
What you don't want to be doing is going through your bag, pulling out all your old handwritten notes and panicking the week before the exam. I think is the logic. Yeah.
especially university courses that are purely exam based, there's a huge danger of that. I mean, I know my first exams weren't until the end of my second year, by which time 2 years worth into half a dozen exams or a dozen exams, that's a huge challenge, let alone going into finals. So yeah, I think that's consistent learning throughout is crucial. Otherwise, you just move from one topic to the next without ever really sort of digesting it. Interesting, interesting. Um, the sort of main question I always think of, sort of, you obviously released Pro Revised this year, but has it sort of remained unchanged since the start, or is it something that even now you're sort of organically sort of developing as the years gone on?
Oh no, we're always adapting and changing and improving features. We'll never
Mm.
stop, I don't think. We take feedback kind of very seriously from students or professionals, and we pretty much have a meeting about every one of them piece of feedback that's sent in. I think that probably the biggest feature we've added is the ability for teachers to make their own resources.
Mm.
So they can make a resource around a geography exam, and then they can export that so students can import it, and they
Okay.
can revise straight from the teacher's own data without having to put it in themselves. So that's been a huge
Oh, that's super cool.
made, yeah.
Very good, very good. Lovely.
Someone's just mentioned biosciences. I think that's the exact kind of thing where, yeah, you want to get those notes down, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. My youngest was revising the periodic table sort of over the weekend as well, using flashcards. That I'll hold my hands up. Sorry, Jonathan. He'd actually done little sort of ripped up pieces of card to do his little notes on for that, but I have subsequently got him onto Pro Revise, but he's enjoying that.
Yeah.
Jeremy just mentioned our students have exams each semester, starting in the first semester of the first year for most courses. Wowzers, that's a good thing, I think. I think the more regularly sort of people are focused on that revision is got to be a good thing. Interesting. Just one question before we go to Sam for a quick demo of the products and further insights. What's your favorite sort of development this year, Jonathan? If you could pick out any of the features or updates, what would you sort of what would be your go-to thing to say? Yeah, I'm pleased with that.
Oh wow. Well, Pro Revise, I really like the focus areas. I just think it just helps the student decide which revision method to use
Hmm.
that day. I think it's really helpful. And again, it's all about getting the student started. So any tool that can help the student just get going, um, is invaluable. And I think that's something we've really looked into um, to really help the student. And and they may feel different one day to the next day. So it's not necessarily disability related, but it can be. But it's also right. I've only got 30 minutes, so what can I use? Rather than just kind of guessing. So that should really help. But with Pro Study, it's definitely the new referencing capabilities. We've always been referencing software, but you generally had to export it to Word. Now you can reference straight within Pro Study and see all your referencing that you've gathered. And I think the 9,500 styles that we've got built in it's just once that reference, if the student knows that's done, the anxiety of having to reference is taken care of. They can concentrate on their assignment.
Sounds awesome. Good stuff. Cool. In which case, Sam, should we hand over to you for a quick showcase?
We can have a little dip in and out of both products and some of the highlights that we've just spoken about. I think that's a good idea.
I'll hand over.
I keep wondering which one to start with first, but we've just spoken about Processing in the end, so maybe we'll go with those. Just look at some of those updates with version 7. So I will share my screen. I think everything should be okay. You guys see and hear everything? Is that all right? You see my screen? Yep. Very good. Awesome. As Jonathan said, version 7. Well, one thing I like about both these programs is they're both web app based. So it wasn't as if we were going to go, it's version 7. Here's all the new features in one go. We wanted to get our students, when we've made something, we want them to have it as quick as they can, so they can use the great stuff that comes. So it was almost like an organic building of version 7 throughout the summer. Looking at things, as I said, for the referencing, which I think I'll look at mostly today. But we also have like an annotation tool that's built into there, and there's upgrades to the research assistant as well. So there's all different bits. And as I said, we can always follow our webinars to see everything in action. But we're looking at a couple of highlights today. But I'd really like the fact with them being web-based, we can just bring something new, introduce it. The same with Pro Revise as well. If we have new revision methods, they can go straight into the system as well, which is great. Here's Brosty. I kind of just created a little project already with some categories in there. And we're going to look at the referencing. So one thing that's interesting about ProStudy is, which I think is quite unique anyway, is you can have ProStudy open, but you don't have to, because you've got the extension on the side. You've got your projects listed there. You can immerse yourself in your research, find what you want, highlight what you'd like to get, right click, and because of the extension, you can collect your information and build items to your project really quickly. And as I said, ProStudy is great at getting the reference information for you. If you do jump back to your project, you can go to a research tile. That's what gets created every time you collect something with ProStudy. You've got the name, the date and time. If we go into info, you'll see a full breakdown of the material there. And you'll even get a preview of what your reference is going to look like straight on there. So we can see it's automatically collected the author, the web address. We can go back and we can visit that really quickly as well. So again, you don't have to have all your tabs open all the time, because we can see exactly what we took from there. But research is all in different places. I have an academic paper here. I collected actually a little bit of this earlier. You can see it on the layman shoe Charlotte article. One of the new updates is the ability to add referencing information just by taking a DOI or an ISBN number from an online resource. So academic papers have these DOI numbers, and books have ISBNs. They'll be written on the back, or they'll be displayed digitally as well. You can add those really easily to your research tiles in ProStudy now, which is great. So you just need to open up the tile in the info section. There's a little add ISBN DOI option there. Hit that, change it to whichever number type you're using, paste it in, and it will then populate your research tile with the reference and information. So there we go, the author's been added, the volume, and now I've got an actual journal type reference as opposed to a web reference on there before. And that's what we want to do, make referencing as easy and as accurate as possible. And all these can always be edited and changed as well. So it gives you a nice clear section to add referencing in. My background before I worked at Avipedo and Pro AT Group was AT training. And it was something that the students used to just kind of, come a lot of stress to a lot of the time with me. The whole referencing process, the referencing styles, the alphabetization, all that takes a long time. And again, as I said, one of the main improvements has been the references section of ProStudy as well now. So you can view and see your references here, the types of references that you have, and the style and that you choose as well, which is great. So I've got my referencing style set as APA 7th edition. I've got my project selected here, and you can even change between categories if you want to. And I can see a list of my references there. But I currently have them ordered A to Z. But if you want to, you can order them by source type as well. You can then easily pick these out and copy and paste them into wherever you want. We even have them as a whole exported list to go. You do that with the export later on as well. But that's a really nice just view of what you have. And I think that's good to see within software. We've got a couple of minutes on each product to look at. So what else would I like to show you? I'm always a big fan of the research assistants, previously as auto tiles. I think a lot of people, a lot of students that I've worked with in the past, research process is difficult. There's lots of time taken, lots of keywords changed to try and find. It's treasure hunting, trying to find what you need. And then there's a lot of text to read. So if you get fatigued from reading, this is all about psychology theories here. This might be a psychology project that I'm trying to do, but if I'm not sure if this is going to be good, I might get fatigued from reading easily. But if I need to get a quick understanding of this, I can use the research assistant in ProStudy by clicking over onto the side, choosing which category I want it to go into, and then just hit the research assistant. And what it does for me is it analyzes the page, and this will also work in documents as well. It's not just on web pages, because you can upload documents into ProStudy and use the same tool in there if you need to. But it won't summarize, it won't distort or change the text. It actually just brings out the quotes of there. So it's exactly what is there. But areas of where you think it's going to be useful for you with this relevance rating. It also will bring images, because there could be tables and diagrams in there that are very important to you. You can separate those out as well, just to make the research less overwhelming. I think it makes a page less overwhelming as well, because if you do struggle with reading, or if you do find a lot of text overwhelming, breaking it down into short, sharp chunks is much easier to try and gain an understanding of the text. You'll also see that these are almost like pre-tiles that we can have here, has a relevance rating on there as well. So, we can see that this article is taking a look at 5 large-scale theories. Okay, now I'm getting an idea what this article's about. The 2 most common theories are CBT and DBT. Okay. And that might be building confidence that I might go back and read this myself. I might actually like what there's already here. That's quite a good maybe quote just to mention that these are the 2 most common, so I'll have that there. And maybe that one as well that says both classical condition and operant condition theories are primary components. I can save those tiles and put them straight into the project. But what that is doing is giving me a quick glance overview of what all this text was about. And I think there was nothing worse than a student starting to read something, and if they have dyslexia and find reading difficult, they get halfway through and then they're just like, this wasn't, supporting my argument. It wasn't the right quote I needed. But, I'm going to find it hard to start the research process again and find something else. At least I've got something quickly. If it was good and I liked it, I can then dedicate the time and find exactly what I want and still add to my project that way with ProStudy. Or if it wasn't any good, I just close it and go away. So, I think it has a lot of uses in that section. So those are 2 of my favorite parts of version 7 enhancements and additions that we've got. We've got 2 programs to look at today. So let's go move over to Pro Revise. So we mentioned the focus areas. I quickly might just show you, we talked about how it's not a cramming tool. It is somewhere where students come every week to add to their course material because they use the topic cards built into here, which they name. I can show you in the view section. These are all my exams here. I've got a varied case of geography, history, anatomy, Spanish. We even use the scan marker pen to scan definitions directly in a revise. And again, I always love it when assistive technology combines with itself because that's the way the student's going to use it. You can dictate in there with Dragon if you want to. I was going to view a topic card. Load up my topics. So every week, I could be, I learn about the water cycle. I've got all these key terms here. I've got definitions. I've got my notes from class in there as well. So that's the building, the scaffold approach to learning that we have in Pro Revise, where we add the content in. And because you're adding those contents in week by week, when the revision process starts, you can go really quickly. You can change to any exam you want to use. You can then look at those focus modes that we mentioned before. Maybe I really want to work on my comprehension. If I click that, the methods change. Depending on how I'm feeling that day. I want to have a go at filling the blanks. And then you go straight into that particular method. What I always think is really important about Pro Revise is it's there to increase engagement so the students can be more engaged, study for longer, and it's there to build confidence in their own ability, because there's exam little test questions in there as well, so you can really assess that if you want to. But I think those who really have mental health and anxiety issues around exams, it's building your confidence in your study material, getting those answers right when you train the methods, you can feel more prepared when the exam starts. Everything's really easy to follow in here too. You just press I next to every revision method that you're on, and it has a nice written instruction, it's clear. And because each method is the same, once you know how to kind of look how to find out how to use one, you can do the same. So if we bring new methods in, they'll be easy to pick up by the students. And I love that, it tells me how to use it, but it also tells me why doing this is going to help. And some people need that affirmation to know, filling the blanks is great because it's self-assessment, because it's going back on my notes. It's text comprehension because I'm reading them again, motivating me to read the notes. If you're a student with ADHD and you're told to go back and read your notes, how long you can do that for before you get distracted, remains to be seen. But if you've got a bit of gamification behind it, it really, really does help the situation. So I can make this easy or hard as well. So we start reading, we're on the skin. Feel free to shout the answers out, anybody who's reading in there. So the first one we've got the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. The epidermis is the outermost layer of the skin and is made up of, I think it's 3, or is it several? That's one that sounds like a good option. Several sublayers. It provides a protective something against the environment. I think that's barrier. This would be a great way. I think someone mentioned before that assessment is also going through presentations as well. So if you've got a speech to memorize, this would be a great way of doing it too, as well as using it for your notes. Sorry, I should get back to reading again. Protective barrier. The dermis middle layer contains blood, something. Blood vessels, nerves, and connective tissue. I think that is. And then also has the structure of hair follicles, sweat glands. The hypodermis is the deepest layer and made up of several fat cells. Insulation and cushioning. Understanding that something of the skin is important. I think that might be anatomy. And once you've got them all, press reveal, and there you go. But you can stay engaged. If you really like that method, just keep refreshing. Go to a different topic cards. Okay, yeah, let's do week 2. That I wasn't focusing that week. Have a look in there. So if you really like a method, you can quickly jump to different topic cards or different exams, stay built in. And as I say, we'll have a look at one more. Oh, I won't tick all of them. I want to focus my attention. I'll go on a different exam this time, Rivers of the World. And I want to look at concentration. So let's pick that one out. Again, if I'm unsure, I can press the I to find out. Even, if you've not got much time, you can time yourself to see how good you are at this as well. But I like using this one because I've been using this example for a while now, but it's proof that the program works because I've kind of memorized what each part of this is. So I used to have people help me because I was really bad. But also, this is a completely different method to what we looked at before. This is very visual. This is very quick-paced. If you're not feeling like you can focus on comprehension today, then we're going to look at the concentration game because it's a more visual thing that might be better for your skills that morning. We flip them over. Well, that was very lucky. I got that right first time. Precipitation. That's, oh my God, let's have it again. Condensation. Right, hopefully I'll get some wrong. There we go. You get them both wrong and they flip over. We go on to this one, the process in which water seeps becomes groundwater. That's infiltration. Let's have a look if we can find that. That's there. Nice. We've got the movement of water over the land and surface. That's runoff, which I think I flipped over here. There we go. And the process in which water vapor cools and changes back into liquids, forming clouds. It sounds like condensation. And I think we've had enough rain talk over this weekend, haven't we? Wind and rain. But I'll leave it at that. And again, a completely different method to what we saw before, but just shows the kind of varied capabilities within Revise as well. So those were a quick little look at each of the programs we got there. I know there's a lot of questions flapping off. So flapping off, was that really the right word? But which is good there. But I think it mostly looks like it's more of praise than anything else. So that's cool. I was told to get finished by, was it about 10 to, or have we got any more time?
If you've got 4 more minutes, mate.
4 more minutes. What else we might want to look at? Any highlights you'd like everyone to see, Jonathan? Or
yeah, well, the mock exam, or
yeah, I think that's 2 other areas actually where I wanted to perhaps look at is the study planner and the mock exam. So for those who do have time management issues, you can import your diary into here, your academic calendars, and then you can create a study plan where it actually puts sessions in that don't interrupt with your lectures. But you can do things where you actually tell it when you work best. So you choose your topics. And again, some topics you might be more confident than others. Create a study plan. It knows when your exam is. You can tell it I'm a morning person, so maybe between 7 and midday. And Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are good for me. Maybe I've got ADHD and I can only really do 20 minutes at a time. So you can pull all that in the study planner and it'll actually create revision sessions for you on those dates and times that you've asked it to. So you can see that in there. You can actually export that out and put it into back into your own online calendar. So you'll get your little notifications on your phone to remind yourself to go on to Pro Revise. And again, another one to really kind of help confirm your knowledge is the mock exam feature. It creates mock exams for you straight away, which is great. But what it'll also do, if I switch to my human anatomy course, is it will have all of your other previous mock exams that you've used, because it does, every time you create one, you can do it based on your topics, the type of questions. You can set the number and the country and your education level as well. So this will be available for, because it uses an algorithm to based on the educational level. So you can have it for university, you can have it for A level, you can have it for GCSE. Just makes the questions more difficult in those areas. If you can see all of my other exams I've got here. If you want to have a go at them, you can retake your previous ones, which is pretty cool, and it goes straight in. So it does questions in the form of multiple choice, fill in the blanks, and true or false style, which is not a layer of the skin. Oh, I think that's the subnatus. We read that paragraph earlier, didn't we? So that was quite a nicely timed question. The human brain consists of how many parts? Anyone said? I'll go for 3. True or false, the left heart side of the heart receives oxygen from the lungs. I think that's true. I'm not putting any of these on the Christmas quiz on Friday, by the way, so don't be marking any of those down. The outermost layer of the skin, I think that is epidermis. I'm going to start doing some new topics for next year, because I've been using this throughout the year and I'm getting really good at it. And also, it's like when Anthony comes to the Christmas quiz, he gets too many of the answers right and has to stop. It's a good one, though. Which part of the brain is good for regulating bodily functions like heart rate? Anyone know?
I was going to go hippocampus, but
Hippocampus. Oh, I think you might be wrong there. That's because I made a meme on that in here, where the hippos forget to study in the hippocampus, and it's all about memory, because hippos and remembering, and that creates a visual meme which you can do in Very Eyes. Oh, we got 4 out of 5. Right, I've gone slightly over time, but you can also see, where you went wrong. So it was the brainstem. Never mind, we know now.
Every day's a school day.
It's amazing what you
day's
can
school
learn.
day.
Yeah, when we were testing this, I accidentally learned about 18th century building techniques in the US, just as a random subject to keep testing it with. So yeah, yeah, not very useful in a quiz.
I think Sam's always got a career sort of renting himself out to sit everyone else's exams after doing this. So well done, Sam. Awesome. Thank you very much. There's been a huge amount of questions and comments in the chat. If anybody else has any more, Jonathan, Sam, delighted to help out on any of that. And obviously, that was a very, very quick oversight of both those solutions. So if anybody would like a more in-depth one-to-one session or to attend one of our webinars, please just let Sam know, and we'll get that out to you.